YouTube. It's the second largest website in the world, behind its parent company Google. Basically, everyone knows what YouTube is at this point, and with more than 34 billion visitors per month, it's not hard to see why. All of these people are watching an absurd amount of content. In fact, YouTube serves up 5 billion videos to users every single day. Why is that important, you might ask? Well, it means that the media industry as a whole is changing, and it has been for a while. Just last year, cable revenue dropped $22.3 billion, but internet-based revenue rose to $18.8 billion. Tens of thousands of creators now make over 6 figures a year just by making YouTube videos. As of 2020, there were over 22,000 YouTube channels with over 1 million subscribers. So then, what is everyone watching on YouTube? And who are the people making these videos?
My name's Abdallah. I run the YouTube channel Abdallah Smashes 026 that focuses on Nintendo gameplay such as live streams, walkthroughs, and tutorials. I started making YouTube videos right when when I was really into Super Smash Bros. Melee, believe it or not. So I was really big into Melee, and I played that very competitively with my friends. And I said, why don't I just start recording this stuff? So I had this little dinky point and shoot camera and the lens glare of the CRT TV and the sounds of our clickings and whatnot. And then I did that for a little bit, just as a little side thing. And then when the Nintendo 3DS came out, I really wanted to start an actual YouTube channel that's based off of creating content. And I was really good at Mario Kart. So Mario Kart 7 was one of the earlier titles in the Nintendo 3DS lineup. So that's where I started. I just started uploading and recording Mario Kart 7 videos. And it was really fun because it engaged the viewers with the opportunity to play along with me during one of my little races. And it was just on the side, when I had my 2 days off, I would just record YouTube videos, kind of like a little side hobby. But I was in school, and I also juggled working full-time at Costco in retail management of Costco. And I kind of focused on that, and it was more along the lines of working my way up in that kind of retail career sphere. And then it came to a point where the YouTube content that I was making was outperforming my actual paychecks that I would get at Costco. So I had to make the switch, and I never looked back since. So interaction with fans is just honestly what I live for. That's the best part, because if you're just out here recording videos and just posting it and then never looking at anyone's reactions to things, what's the point of that, right? I don't think that there's a point at all. So I think the beauty about YouTube and content creation is the instantaneous feedback of if someone likes a video, if they drop a comment on the video, saying hey, this was really awesome, good job. That's honestly what I live for. And throughout my tenure of doing YouTube, I've made tons of impressions on people all over the world. And it's really, really refreshing to kind of hear certain things oh my gosh, this whole COVID thing has been a nightmare, but watching your videos gets me through it day by day. Those kinds of really heartfelt messages really makes me continue to want to do everything that I do on there to make an impression on someone. Especially in pandemic times that we're in right now at the time of recording, where, you may not have the ability to go out and fraternize or socialize with other people. So you can just turn on a live stream and everyone will just tune in and you can talk to them. And it's just a really, really good mental health for me to just jump into it and really do what I enjoy, which is just play video games and interact with people and teach people how to do stuff. So if I wasn't doing YouTube, I would totally be a high school teacher. I would love to be a high school teacher, just to teach the kids. I'd maybe do math or something, or science, probably science. And then I would totally be the teacher sponsor that sponsors the video game club after school. And so I could just beat the kids in all these old school games. So yeah, that's exactly what I would do. And that's kind of that's what I did in when I was in high school. I was really big into math and science, and I started up a video game club. And for my senior and junior year, there was this really awesome video game club that met up every Thursday and we played video game. Honestly, YouTube is, you make what you want of it, to be honest. My work days really consist of, nowadays, a couple hours, maybe 3 hours a day, right? So that's super easy. But then at the same time, like I've already been growing this for, just about 10 years. So I've gotten to a point where it can be whatever I want it to. If you're just like a smaller creator starting out now, like, yeah, you've got a lot of work to do in order to get your brand out there, to establish yourself. There's a lot. Or, you could just get lucky and just like play Fortnite and be really good at it, right? So there's a lot of things going on with what's harder and what's necessarily easier, but it depends on person to person. As far as like YouTube and my longevity of the career, I absolutely want to be on as long as I can, right? And then maybe my channel will evolve into like a cooking channel. Like, I don't know. Maybe it'll evolve into a board game channel. I don't know. Like Nintendo has new content all the time. That's a multi-billion-dollar industry. So I have a feeling that they're going to continue making content for as long as we're alive. So I think I've got my work set out ahead of me.
So my name is Ariel Rivera, but online I'm known as Munching Orange, and that's my YouTube channel, and pretty much on all media, that's what I'm known as. So I started making videos a really long time ago, actually. I think I was like 14, so it must have been like 2010. I used to watch like channels like Smosh, which were more skit based, and Niga Higa as well. Those are like my original inspirations, and I just picked up like my dad's whatever Sony like snapshot camera, and I started making my own skits because that was my inspiration. I feel like to an extent a lot of creators and artists, you start off copying before you eventually evolve to your own style. So that's kind of what I did at first, and then I was always really into art and mainly drawing, and I always thought that that's kind of where my career would go towards. But as I got more into YouTube and also into Let's Plays, which is what I do now, that definitely became like my main focus, was just doing more gameplay commentary stuff. So I would say it's taken a pretty big twist / like evolution from what I originally started doing, which was more IRL. But yeah, it's definitely changed a lot in terms of what I thought I was gonna do versus what I'm doing now. My interest changed as I was growing up, because I started like back in middle school. That's when I was doing the little skits and then the sprite work, like I said. But then when I got like more towards high school, I was watching more people do gameplay online, and that kind of became my new inspiration. So I started also kind of copying that, but eventually as well it evolved into my own thing, which ever since then kind of started picking up. Because there's always people that say like their worries with YouTube and whatnot. Like my grandpa would always be on me about how you never know how long this might last. But at least in terms of Pokemon, I felt like it was something that as long as I stayed on top of my game, they were going to keep providing, things that I could make content about. So in that sense, yeah, I guess that's why I stuck with it. Especially like I said in the last question, like when you go viral, for example, or you have that spotlight for a little bit, you feel like you want to make the most of it, and you kind of have to, because once it goes away, it's like if you didn't make the most of it, you're not going to have that. You don't know if you're going to get that chance again. So for sure, whenever something big is happening, or you somehow end up trending, or you're in a trendy topic, like, yeah, I think in those moments there is pressure to like try to make the most of it. Like for example with me, whenever there's like new Pokemon releases, but I feel like I've always been a person, like even back in school, where I kind of procrastinated because it motivated me in a way. Like having that pressure of like, oh, this is due like tomorrow, that kind of translated to YouTube now, where in the moment when it's like most needed is when I put the most work in. I mean, I've been out here 10 years now, which is crazy. So I would say my main goal, if anything, is just to, stay relevant within my field as long as I can, basically. Maybe to be more specific, I want to be the longest running relevant Pokemon YouTuber. But I do feel that at some point, I want to move on to something else, whether it's in game development or maybe go back to like the art field. Like I, as a kid, dreamed that I could work for like Pixar or maybe a big game company like Insomniac Studios, one of my favorites. Who knows, maybe I could have actually worked on like that Spider-Man game, which coincidentally is my favorite superhero too. And like it would have lined up because around when that game was being developed was when I would have probably been like done with school and maybe trying to look for work. But at the same time, you know, jobs in that kind of field aren't guaranteed, but neither is YouTube. So either way, I was playing it risky with my interest. But yeah, I feel like I would have definitely tried to make it work. Even if I was working for like a smaller studio, I probably would have done either 3D or 2D animation, one of those. I'm not really sure, but like, yeah, for now, I'm happy with what I do, and I feel like I can still provide some kind of like criticism / commentary on the state of Pokemon. So yeah, I'm just doing that for now and trying to stay out there.
My name is Aaron Encinosa, and my channel name is Aaron Nitmar on YouTube. When I first started YouTube, I was just making fun videos that I thought people would like to see. I was making camcorder, like pointing my camera at my console and just showing something cool I did. I played Pokemon games and hunted Pokemon on there, and then I started, you know, playing through different games and doing sort of walkthroughs and just me playing while speaking, and then it just sort of evolved from there. But that was the first style of content that I made, and it's very different from what I make nowadays. I switched up the content I make because it was mostly what I was passionate about. There's a mantra with YouTube videos where if you're not passionate about what you're making, then it's going to show in the content. And I was sort of at a crossroads when it came to my content, and so I wanted to switch it up and change to something that I was very passionate about, and Super Smash Bros. As a series was something I was very passionate about. I make the videos that I want to make. With other more traditional media, there's, you know, people that you have to run these ideas by. There's a whole process involved, and while that process does, I guess, happen on my channel, I'm the only one that really is managing it. So it has its advantages in that I make what I want when I want, and it's just far more freeing in that sense. So nowadays my channel is focused mostly on Super Smash Bros. And Nintendo-ish content. I cover a fair different number of topics. Sometimes I'm making custom content that I think would be cool for the game. Sometimes I am covering what's already in the game and sort of analyzing the different references and, you know, look at and point to other works in the video game markets. So YouTube for me was a hobby pretty much since I started it in around middle school. I'm 27 now, so I've been doing it for quite a long time. And it was just something that I did while I was in school. In high school, it was just a hobby. In college, I was able to make it a sort of side gig. So rather than working in like a store or as a waiter or something, I was able to do YouTube on the side while I pursued my degree. And then after I got my degree, I sort of decided, what do I want to do? Do I want to take this degree and go into a full-time job with it, or do I want to pursue YouTube? And I decided to pursue YouTube, and it's worked out pretty well so far. If people ask me what I do, I will usually just straight up tell them I'm a YouTuber. Sometimes I will sugarcoat it a little bit by saying I'm self-employed, but usually I end up having to say anyway that I'm a YouTuber. And a lot of people are receptive to it nowadays. They didn't used to be. I've definitely noticed a change in the reaction. It definitely went from curiosity to sort of excitement. I think the concept of YouTube being a job has definitely hit the mainstream, whereas before I would get a lot of follow-up questions like, how is that a job? How do you make money? Well, why is your content, like, why are people watching your content? There's definitely been a cultural shift towards new media, I guess you could call it, both with YouTube and with streaming. And generally nowadays, it's a very positive reaction, and a lot of people want to know what my channel is and what kind of content I make. If I weren't doing YouTube as a full-time job, ironically, I still think I would be doing YouTube because I still have the passion for the content creation process and for, you know, getting my thoughts out there. Obviously, it would just be a hobby at that point. And as for a full-time job, I probably would simply go get a job that uses my degree. You know, I would just take that left fork that I was considering instead of going the right fork of YouTube, and I would just be working a 9 to 5. I don't exactly have a time frame that I'm expecting to be on YouTube. Every year I'm on the platform is another win in my eyes, because I've already sort of come to the realization that, one day I will not be able to do this as a job. It won't be something that I can sustain, because nobody lasts on YouTube forever. There's new content always coming out, and so it's very easy to get forgotten on this site. And so I think that I would like to pivot that into either creating or joining a sort of media company that focuses on YouTube, and sort of using the experience that I have running it on my own and bringing that to a company that does it, professionally, whether it's for themselves or they do it for other companies or something along those lines. The easy answer to whether I would go back and change something is no, because I'm doing pretty well now. But there are certain periods of time where I do wish I had gotten in to certain style of content a bit earlier. For example, I was also on YouTube when the previous Smash game was launching, and I didn't really do much for that game because I was focused on a different style of content. Obviously, seeing the growth from the launch of the next game in the series makes me wonder where my channel could be at today had I gone back and sort of done what I did, but just like 3 or 4 years earlier. But at the same time, it's really easy to, wonder what if, and I'm incredibly grateful for what I'm able to do today and where my channel has gotten to today. So would I mean, maybe, but I'm very content with where I'm at right now.
So I am Matt Vrone, and my YouTube channel is Awesome Face Prod. So I think I originally started making videos in 2009, but I didn't start uploading on my current channel until 2011. Originally, what I uploaded was, they're called Let's Plays, but I think more people would be familiar with like gameplay commentaries. So what that was is essentially I would just be playing through a video game and sort of either narrating my experience or explaining how to do something, something like that. I think over the course of those years, it got more and more informational, almost like I was making video guides or tutorials in a way. But now I've sort of transitioned into more long form content. So I'm working on making more like documentaries based on video games or history of video games and stuff like that. So it's less of me just playing the games and more of me now talking about stuff that goes behind the scenes of creating the games in the games industry and so on and so forth. Honestly, I made that change because I think just making the normal gameplay commentaries was not as creatively fulfilling as it was when I originally started back in 2011. Like, that's sort of what led me into my interest in video editing and so on and so forth. So as sort of my interest in that grew, so did my desire to make, more engaging videos or put my skills to the test, so to speak. So I made that change just because what I was doing wasn't really fulfilling me creatively, and I wanted to make the jump to like the next thing, I guess, in my creative career, if you want to say that. So YouTube offers a lot of creative freedom, I'll say, and I think that is probably one of the best things about it. I think there's a couple of things that are great about YouTube over traditional media. One being the interaction that you as the creator have directly with the audience that's watching you. I think that's paramount to everything on YouTube, and I think it's key to being successful on the platform, because that's something that you can't get with traditional media. I mean, you can a little bit now with social media, but I think that is one of the big things that YouTube has over traditional media. But another thing I think is just the creative freedom that it does bring. Me as a independent content creator, I don't have people telling me what I can and can't do. My only limitations are what I have access to and the ideas that I can think of. So it gives you a lot of freedom in that regard. Yeah, early on, like, I definitely wanted to make the most of it, will you? And I tried to, I think, do a little too much early on, and it sort of got to me in a way. Yeah, I would say I felt a lot of pressure early on when I was making YouTube videos, just because it was like, you know, there are people who would probably, you know, kill to be in my situation where I have a somewhat successful channel, and I'm sure there's millions of people out there who are like dreaming that, you know, they could be a YouTuber one day. But I think now that I'm more hands off with my YouTube channel and everything, I don't feel as much pressure, and I think that's a good thing. But early on, I definitely did feel that. Yeah, so I've definitely had my fair share of failures on the platform. In the post 2014, closer to like the modern era of YouTube that we're in right now, I started making some changes to my channel to try and favor more towards the algorithm and try and retool what I was doing, because what I was doing wasn't working anymore, and I was like, I need to make a change now. And I definitely saw a decrease in like engagement on my videos, and people would be like, hey, this isn't, you know, what we were subscribed for. Like, this isn't the type of content we want. Like, what are you doing? Like, you need to stop. So it didn't feel great. I'll say that much. And it sort of made me pause for a moment and sort of rethink what I was doing. I think as long as the website is up and functional, I will continue to be on YouTube. At this point, I've sort of taken a step back from being a full-time YouTuber already, so I don't have all my eggs in that basket, if you will. So if things do go south, I definitely have a fallback plan. I'm gonna fall back on my college education that I'm currently getting, and hopefully get a job in traditional media. But yeah, no, I love YouTube as like a hobby and as a full-time career. So no matter what happens, I think I'll always be on the platform as long as it exists. So that's always an interesting question, you know, if you could go back, would you change something? I think a lot of people instinctively say no, as like almost a coping mechanism, because if you really think about it, like, hindsight is 20/20. So like, if you could go back, of course you would change something. For myself personally, I know in my YouTube career, there's at least 2 or 3 moments where, had I made a different decision, I think it would have heavily impacted where my channel is today. And I might actually still be doing YouTube full time if I had made those decisions. But at the same time, had I had made those decisions, I might not be where I am currently today outside of YouTube. And I think that's a big distinction. That could be me, you know, just making a coping mechanism for myself. But I like where I'm at currently. You know, I have a great supportive family. I'm in a really great relationship. I'm about to get a degree in a field that I like. So even though YouTube didn't work out exactly the way that I would have liked it to, would I go back and change anything to fix that? Probably not. I'm still going to be on the platform. I'm still going to continue to upload, even if it's not full-time. It's just something I love doing, and I couldn't see my life without YouTube, honestly.